Nuclear weapons have shaped the course of human history. With their immense destructive power, they are the ultimate symbol of both our technological prowess and our potential for self-destruction. But what would happen if every nuclear bomb ever created exploded all at once? How would it affect the planet, and could life as we know it even survive? Let's explore the terrifying possibilities. Since the first nuclear test in 1945, over 2,000 nuclear detonations have occurred around the globe. From tests in remote deserts to actual warfare, nuclear weapons have been detonated in both controlled environments and, tragically, in real-world conflicts. Today, there are an estimated 13,000 nuclear warheads in existence, scattered among a handful of powerful nations. But what if all of them were detonated simultaneously? Let's break it down. The combined explosive yield of all 13,000 nuclear warheads would be catastrophic. On average, modern nuclear bombs have yields ranging from 100 kilotons to several megatons of TNT equivalent. If all of them exploded at once, the total explosive yield would be around 250,000 megatons of TNT, or 250 gigatons. For context, that's about 14,000 times the combined power of all bombs dropped during World War II. The immediate effects would be nothing short of apocalyptic. The initial explosions would create massive fireballs, incinerating everything in their vicinity. Cities, landscapes, and forests would be vaporized, leaving behind nothing but scorched earth. A shockwave would spread across the planet, flattening structures and causing earthquakes powerful enough to register on the Richter scale worldwide, but the destruction wouldn't end there. The tremendous heat from the explosions would send huge amounts of debris, soot, and radioactive particles into the atmosphere. This would block out sunlight, plunging the planet into a nuclear winter. What for months or even years, temperatures could plummet drastically, possibly by 20 to 30 degrees Celsius globally, disrupting ecosystems and agriculture. Without sunlight, photosynthesis would be severely reduced, leading to widespread crop failures. Food shortages would follow, and the collapse of ecosystems would put even the hardiest of species at risk. Global temperatures could drop so low that the world would be uninhabitable for many forms of life. The delicate balance of life on Earth, already vulnerable due to climate change and human activity, would be tipped beyond recovery. Radiation would also pose a devastating threat. The radioactive fallout from 13,000 nuclear explosions would spread across the globe, contaminating the air, water, and soil. Even areas far from ground zero would experience dangerous levels of radiation, rendering large parts of the planet uninhabitable. The long-term health consequences would include cancer, genetic mutations, and the collapse of human civilization as we know it. The global population would dwindle rapidly. Governments would struggle to function, with much of the infrastructure completely destroyed. The survivors, if there were any, would face an incredibly harsh world with limited resources, a collapsed global economy, and a ruined environment. After the dust settles, the Earth might look something like a barren, lifeless rock, devastated by the consequences of human ingenuity and hubris. Even if life could eventually recover, it might take centuries, if not millennia, for ecosystems to rebalance themselves. But even in the darkest scenarios, humanity has shown incredible resilience. If any survivors remained, they might begin to rebuild from the ashes, but they would be left with the painful reminder of the power we wield and the consequences of our actions. The question is not just what could happen if all nuclear bombs went off at once. The real question is, can we prevent it from ever happening? Our future depends on our choices today. The weapons we have and the wisdom to use them wisely will determine if humanity survives and thrives in the long run. Now let's talk about what if every car exploded all at the same time. Cars are an integral part of modern life, millions of them on the roads transporting us to work, school, and every corner of the globe. But what if something unimaginable happened? What if every single car on Earth exploded at once? What would that look like? And what kind of destruction could it cause? Let's explore the chaos that would unfold. There are currently over 4 billion cars on the planet, with about 250 million of them in the United States alone. While not all cars are equipped with explosives, every modern vehicle has a combination of highly flammable liquids and gases, fuel, oil, and compressed air. So in this hypothetical scenario, we'll assume every car ignites and explodes simultaneously. But what would that do? First, let's consider the scale of this explosion. A typical car contains about 10 to 20 gallons of gasoline. which, when ignited, can produce an explosion powerful enough to destroy the car and create a large fireball. If every car exploded at once, we're talking about a catastrophic chain reaction. The explosions wouldn't just destroy the cars themselves. The shock waves would ripple through cities and towns, causing widespread damage to buildings, streetlights, and infrastructure. In dense urban areas, the concentration of vehicles would amplify the destruction, as the explosions could easily take down entire blocks. Glass windows would shatter from the force. Buildings would collapse and fires would rage uncontrollably, fueled by the gasoline and other flammable materials inside the cars. Even in more rural areas, the impact would be felt. Highways packed with cars would become massive firestorms. The explosion of thousands of cars in close proximity would create heat so intense that it could ignite surrounding vegetation, causing widespread wildfires. Rural areas could quickly turn into infernos, with little hope of escape or firefighting resources. In the chaos of this global disaster, human lives would be at risk. Those in or near the cars at the time of the explosions would be killed instantly, with little chance of survival. Pedestrians and people in nearby buildings would also face extreme danger from the blast waves, flying debris, and fires. Emergency response teams would struggle to navigate through the wreckage and reach survivors, if any. Hospitals and emergency services would be overwhelmed, not only by the sheer number of casualties, but also by the magnitude of the burns, trauma, and respiratory issues caused by inhaling toxic smoke. The environmental and health aftermath would be devastating, with the cleanup process lasting years and the air quality plummeting to hazardous levels. But this is no local disaster. With millions of cars exploding around the globe, the effects would be felt worldwide. The environmental impact would be catastrophic. The sheer amount of fuel and oil released into the atmosphere would create an environmental crisis, leading to widespread air pollution. The carbon and soot particles would contribute to climate change, further harming ecosystems and accelerating global warming. The smoke and pollutants released into the atmosphere would block sunlight, leading to a temporary drop in temperatures, a phenomenon known as global dimming. This could disrupt global weather patterns, affecting agriculture and making food supplies scarce. The question is, would life as we know it even survive? The aftermath would leave the world in a state of utter devastation. Roads and transportation networks would be destroyed, making it nearly impossible to move goods, access services, or even communicate effectively. The global economy would collapse, and governments would struggle to maintain order. However, as history has shown, humans have an incredible ability to rebuild in the face of disaster. It would take decades, maybe longer, to recover from such a catastrophic event. But through perseverance and cooperation, the world could slowly recover. New forms of transportation might emerge, cities would be redesigned, and the lessons learned from this event would reshape the way we approach technology and safety. While the thought of every car exploding at once is pure science fiction, it serves as a stark reminder of the power we hold in our everyday inventions. In the real world, this disaster isn't something we can afford to imagine. Instead, we should focus on building a safer, more sustainable future, one that relies less on fossil fuels and more on clean energy alternatives. The world's future doesn't have to be defined by destruction. Together, we can drive change for the better. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more scenarios.